Africa, 45 deaths in the middle of protests linked the Zuma jailing. The president of Venezuela, NICOLAS Maduro, held a meeting with the Special Commission of the National Assembly for Dialogue, Peace and National Reconciliation. Cuban government denounces effects of the United States blockade on the quality of life of Cubans. Hello, welcome to TeleSUR English. This is from the South. I am Denise Herrera. Stay with us. Protests in South Africa, triggered by the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma, has intensified, despite calls for calm from senior officials and the deployment of thousands of soldiers to the streets to reinforce a struggling police. The death toll from nearly a week on arrest has risen to 45, some from gunshot wounds, while 750 people have been arrested. 10 people were killed during a car crash on Monday night. Officials said separately a 15-year-old boy was killed when he was shot in the chest with a rubber bullet, local media reported. 4 police officers have been injured. Former President Zuma, who is still has strong support within the ruling African National Congress, and in his home state of KwaZulu-Natal, has denied all wrongdoing and says the charges are politically motivated. Before South African President Cyril Ramaphosa vowed in a somber other broadcast to the nation Monday night that the police and army will restore order after looting, and they appealed to South Africans to work together for peace.
This violence may indeed have its roots in the pronouncements and activities of individuals with a political purpose and in expressions of frustration and anger. At the beginning of this unrest, there may have been some people who sought to agitate for violence and disorder along ethnic lines. As a Commander-in-Chief of the South African Defence Force and our security forces, I have today authorized the deployment of the Defence Force personnel in support of the operations of the South African Police Service. The National Joint Operation and Intelligence Structure, known as NetJoints, has intensified deployments in all the affected areas.
The Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization on Monday signed agreements with Chinese vaccine producing companies Sinovac and Sinopharm for supplying COVID-19 vaccine for COVAX. According to the deals, Sinovac and Sinopharm will provide more than 100 million rubles of COVID-19 vaccines to COVAX by October, which will help alleviate the current shortage of vaccine supply in developing countries and promote the fairness and accessibility of coronavirus vaccine distribution. Meanwhile, healthcare workers in Greece will be suspended if they refuse to get vaccinated under a new mandatory policy announced by the country's prime minister.
The immediate vaccination of workers who care for the elderly in nursing homes, which is the most vulnerable category, becomes mandatory. Those who do not vaccinate will be suspended from work beginning on August 16, because it is not possible for people who are supposed to protect those who are most at risk to be the same potential carriers of that risk. From September the 1st, mandatory vaccination will also apply to both public and private healthcare professionals. It is unthinkable, for example, for an unvaccinated nurse to care for an immunosuppressed cancer patient.
All remaining lockdown restrictions in England will be lifted in a week despite a sharp rise in coronavirus cases, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson confirmed.
Every week that goes by, we're getting hundreds of thousands more jabs into arms, and our delay to the roadmap that we announced last month has enabled us to get 7 million more jabs in the last 4 weeks alone. By next Monday, 2/3 of adults will have received a second dose, and every adult will have been offered a first dose. And it is the single most crucial thing now that you get that jab. A jab that can protect you and your family and allow you, for instance, to go on holiday. And it is, of course, only thanks to the vaccine program that we are able to take these cautious steps now. But to take these steps, we must be cautious and we must be vaccinated. So please, get that jab.
Still concerns over the rapid decrease in cases has piled pressure on the government to take a more cautious approach over lifting restrictions. New infections could reach 100,000 a day later in the summer. Many of the infections have occurred among younger people who have yet to receive a first dose in vaccine. The government has no plan yet to offer vaccines to children under 18.
Our delay to the roadmap that we announced.
Curfew in 32 Valencian municipalities after court approval due to an increase of COVID-19 infection rate. The Valencian community is facing an exponential increase of the contagion rate, an increase of hospitalizations in Spain, and the Supreme Court of Justice has ruled to stop the spread of the virus. It has issued a resolution that will allow the reduction of nighttime mobility in 32 towns with more than 5,000 inhabitants. We'll take a short break now, don't go away. Welcome back. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, held a meeting with the Special Commission of the National Assembly for Dialogue, Peace and National Reconciliation. During his address to a group of pro-government and opposition parliamentarians at Miraflores Palace, the Venezuelan president pointed out 3 key points for economic recovery in the country, highlighting the emerging social economy in recent years as part of the resistance actions against the United States, coercive sanctions. An executive expressed its readiness to establish a dialogue table with all economic sectors of the country, emphasizing that the dialogue and peace will achieve the interests of the Venezuelan people. The Venezuelan president showed his full willingness to dialogue in Mexico, together with nowhere but stressed that there are 3 conditions for sitting at the dialogue tables.
3 conditions to go to Mexico. 1. That the United States of America and the European Union lift all sanctions on Venezuela. 2. That all political sectors at the sitting recognize the validity and functioning of the Republic powers and the constitutionality of the country and its legitimate authorities. And 3. That all sectors renounce violent plans with criminals, coups d'état, assassinations and other ways of violence. 3 first conditions, and I could add a 4th, that all the political sectors who want to join a large, plural, flourishing table of peace. I agree with the table of Mexico and Norway.
Cuban President Miguel DIAZ-CANEL and some of the country's top officials held Monday a press conference to dissect the routes and responses to the ongoing destabilization campaign against Cuba. DIAZ-CANEL cabinet minister and high Communist Party officials took questions from journalists addressing the main issues raised by the unprecedented demonstrations staged Sunday in several Cuban cities. Organized through social networks, main issues were blackouts, shortage of food and medicines, and monetary regulation affecting the US dollar. Desertification is illegitimate, DIAZ-CANEL said, as the country is facing the most brutal United States blockade in 60 years, intensified in times of pandemic, affecting all ways of life in the island. The president of Cuba, Miguel DIAZ-CANEL, stated that the main problems affecting the country today are the result of the aggressive economic, commercial and financial blockade imposed on the islands by the United States.
That media was targeted to the energy problem that we already explained, which is a reality, to the lack of supply of food and medicine, and to the problems of the hard currency shops. We have all those problems. What's the origin of all those problems? What's the main cause? It is the blockade. So it is a hypocrite discourse. It is a discourse of lies, a manipulating discourse.
Mexican President Manuel López Obrador said on Monday he was in favor of a solution through talks and without the use of force to resolve the Cuban internal problems, and offered to send help.
To help Cuba, the first thing that should be done is to suspend the embargo on Cuba, as most countries of the world are requesting. That would truly be a humanitarian gesture. No country in the world should be besieged, blockaded. That is the most contrary thing to human rights. And it has to be the Cuban people who decide, because Cuba is a free, independent and sovereign country. There should be no interventionism.
The president of Venezuela, NICOLAS, Maduro, expressed his solidarity with his Cuban counterpart, Miguel Díaz-Canel, in the face of the attempts of the United States government to destabilize the peace of the Cubans.
Cuba has been applied the same method of suffocation, persecution for 60 years, and now the North American empire is going to say nonsense. If the United States and the extremist opponents also in Cuba really want to help the people of Cuba to immediately lift all sanctions and blockade against the people of Cuba. From here, from this dialogue table and from this presidential palace, I ratify, as I said yesterday by telephone to President Miguel Díaz-Canel, all the support of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, to the people of Cuba, to the revolutionary government of Cuba. Brothers in the good and the bad always. Brothers, and Cuba will succeed with the union and the majority consciousness of that noble and a heroic people who have.
In Ecuador, agricultural laborers have blocked roads in different parts of the country as part of the national strike action to denounce the failure of the government to abide by the agreements made with the sector. President Guillermo Lasso has threatened the strikers with jail. The strike was announced by the national movement, which represents farmers, agricultural and rural workers. They are demanding the fulfillment of the agreements signed during the electoral campaign of President Guillermo Lasso. According to the agreements, minimum prices should be established by agricultural products and regulations established regarding material costs for their production. More story coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. New details came to light about how the mercenaries involved in the assassination of Haiti president. TeleSUR had access to messages via WhatsApp. Let's have a look.
¿Cómo está usted, mi garra? ¿Cómo va todo? ¿La moral por las nubes o no?
Might be echoing in Neil Cáceres Duran's ears 6 months after listening to them avidly when via WhatsApp he received instructions on how to apply for a contractor according to military forces and grades.
Se llame soldado, el color de la carpeta es roja. Suboficial, la carpeta es azul. Si es oficial, pues amarilla. Si no tiene nada de eso y fue policía, pues es verde.
Neil Cáceres, 45 years old, worked as a gardener in a condominium in Colombia and was confident that he could prove his expertise in one of the proposed profiles, without anticipating that he would earn $2,700 a month. He told his friends that he was waiting for an offer from abroad.
Que los aspirantes sean mayores de 22, menores de 42, que tengan como mínimo curso de fundamentación en vigilancia, o sea, debe tener ese, el de fundamentación en vigilancia. Si tiene 20 reentrenamientos, pues meta los 20 reentrenamientos, que eso quiere decir que usted tiene experiencia.
According to the Haitian police, those involved in the assassination in Haiti confirmed that they worked for a company based in the United States and Colombia. In the audios obtained by TeleSUR, the recruiters explain even the smallest procedure to be taken into account.
De hoja de vida para los que lo necesitan, o sea, para los suboficiales. Para los soldados profesionales, tiempo de servicio y resolución de retiro. Para los soldados regulares, el tiempo de servicio. Carpeta que no llegue completa, no lo van a contratar.
These messages could have been sent by former soldier Herzaim Mendivelso Jaimes, arrested this weekend in Haiti, after being identified as one of the mercenaries' recruiters. Previously revealed audios point to others as responsible. Today it is known that CTU Security based in Miami was the contractor of the 26 Colombian mercenaries involved in the assassination of the president of Haiti.
This Monday, the government of Spain held its first cabinet meeting at the Palacio de la Moncloa in Madrid. The new government is made up for younger people, more women, and reshuffle does not affect the alliance between Sanchez, the Spanish Socialist Workers' Party, and the radical left Podemos Party, which retains its 5 ministries. Sanchez sacked several influential politicians, including Deputy Prime Minister Carmen Calvo, and brought in 7 new faces in his first major reshuffle since his left-wing minority and coalition came to power in January 2020. European Union member states formally approved recovery plans submitted by 12 countries, including France, Italy, and Spain, while doubts have over the proposal from Hungary. The European Union is gradually rolling out its 750 billion euro recovery plan, and this green light means that the dozen countries can receive the first installment of the sums promised. Further payouts will depend on whether national governments deliver on reforms and commitments that the money spent will meet preset targets on advancing Europe's green and digital investment priorities. Spain and Italy will be the main beneficiaries of the plan, with a total of almost 70 billion euros in subsidies in the next 5 years, ahead of France with almost 40 billion euros. The European Union has extended its coercive economic sanctions against Russia. The bloc is using Moscow's alleged non-compliance with the Minsk agreements on Ukraine and its latest justification for the measures. This extension is for 6 months. To move comes as NATO forces up their pressure campaign against Moscow. Kremlin spokeswoman Dmitry Peskov noted that this decision was unexpected for his government and ignores the willingness to improve relations between Russia and the European Union. We have come to the end of this new brief. You can find more and these many other stories in our website at telesur.net. And join us on social media for TeleSUR English. I am Denise Herrera. Thank you for watching.
Hola, ¿qué tal?